I'm talking today to Neil Darwent, the BBC award-winning pasture-fed farmer, who, like me, is totally passionate about grazing cows on grass to produce healthier milk. So Neil, you started life as a, quote, conventional dairy farmer. How has that changed? What led you to now be doing the free-range dairy?
Well, it's been quite a long journey, really. I mean, I suppose when I was younger and I was milking cows in my early days, I got sort of rather caught up with the kudos of milking high-yielding cows and these sort of pictures of Holsteins from America and Canada that were doing fantastic yields of milk. And I kind of fell into the whole thing about thinking that dairy was really very much about an industrial future. I looked at opportunities through a Nuffield scholarship to achieve economies of scale on dairy businesses and all those sorts of things. And it wasn't until around about 2000 when I came to Somerset to take on quite a large dairy business at that time that I suddenly realised there were more than just black and white cows in this world. We actually had 13 dairy herds, of which 10 ran black and white Holsteins, but 3 were these wonderful red and white Montbéliard cows, a dual purpose cow, which I thought were really fat, lazy things at the time. They didn't give as much milk, but they actually, over a period of time, I suddenly began to realise actually they were the quiet ones. They were the ones you didn't notice because they just got on with the job. They got back in calf, they actually lived a long time, we didn't have the vet out. And we began to look at the economic value of that. And from there also learnt a bit about how we could keep that kind of a cow on a cheaper system, you know, on a grass-based system. And so gradually those sort of things began to change my way of thinking about managing cows. And then along with that were all the kind of things we were seeing through the 90s about consumer issues, whether it was BSE or then more recently perhaps shooting male calves. Began to maybe think as farmers we were in real danger of losing complete touch with our marketplace and what the consumer wanted. So
I think that's really interesting that you as a farmer came at it from an economic perspective, and for me as a consumer and a campaigner it was very much about how do I give the healthiest milk to my family, and looking at the research that shows that these milks that are produced from cows that eat grass are actually so much better for us because they have the omega-3s and the CLA, the healthy fats. Is that part of what you're doing, trying to make healthier milk?
Absolutely, because the one thing I always say is I think there is actually a win-win situation. So we can do what's right for the farmer in terms of efficiency and profitability. We can do what's right for the cow in terms of breeding a more robust animal that lives longer, enjoys a life in the great outdoors. And we can do what's right for the consumer in delivering a really good quality product. And of course, all the science now about milk from grass is really starting to show us that not all milk is the same. And that's another thing I'm very passionate about telling people. You know, we pick up bottles of this white stuff, but we really ought to think a lot more about what's in it.
So how do we know then, because you're quite right, it does all look the same, and you've just brought out this fantastic label, the free range dairy, which hopefully is that going on more pints of milk?
It is, it's going on milk, it's going on some ice cream, it's going on some cheese, very much on a low sort of regional startup at the moment, because for me this is about building value in people's minds and building understanding. It wasn't about launching a niche brand for an overnight sensation, and I think as a farmer I've always felt we've become so disconnected with the consumer. We need to not throw brands and labels at them, but actually get them to really understand the value in what we do. And so we are going to grow the business, but I'm very determined that we grow it in a way that we stick to those true roots of local markets, good quality produce.
So if we're in the supermarket or wherever we're buying our milk, what are the key words then we need to look for on the label?
Well, I think at the moment it's difficult to find keywords that really identify certainly pasture-fed milk.
Should we go for organic?
Well, organic is certainly gives you some assurance about forage inclusion. So there's not a whole sort of reliance on cereals and things. There are limits to what's fed, but there is absolutely no specific requirement, as far as I can see, in organic standards for a given number of days for a cow to spend at grass. So. And I don't believe that exists anywhere. If you go to a retailer at the moment, you'll see images of cows and grass everywhere. But you ask them how many days each year the cows spend at grass that supply their milk, I don't think they'll be able to give you any kind of definition. So I'm not being very helpful here because I don't think it's out there. And that's exactly why I've launched the free range dairy brand.
So we should be asking those questions. Is it coming from grass-fed cows? And now congratulations, because you've just won BBC Food and Farming Outstanding Farmer of the Year. You are outstanding in your field. That must be a joke you've heard many times. But it is really brilliant news that you've been recognised, and hopefully, what do you see for the future? Do you see this spreading into other dairy products?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of the recognition I've had for this work. I've been doing this for probably 2-3 years now, and to get the recognition is great, not only for me personally, but it gives the cause an enormous boost, raises the profile of free-range dairy, and hopefully promotes that understanding that I've been talking about. And we will see free-range dairy going into more avenues, whether it's on ice cream, say, or cheese, or those sorts of things, and possibly extending then onto meat as well, beef and lamb.
Great. So that's what we should be looking for, free-range dairy label on our dairy produce.
I'd encourage everybody when they go and buy milk just to ask what's in it.
What's in it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We wish you every luck with it.
Thank you very much.